Citizen science activates thousands of people around Puget Sound to engage in research, increasing our collective understanding of the state of our marine environment. North Sound Stewards are vital to the protection of the Salish Sea. Things were a little different in 2020, but let's take a look at the highlights. The Department of Natural Resources Acidification Nearshore Monitoring Network continued their monitoring this summer at Birch Bay State Park around Cherry Point. They look at this data to inform management on how eelgrass might help to reduce impacts of ocean acidification. Sea star wasting syndrome monitoring was also able to happen this year. At Clayton Beach this winter, we had a small handful of volunteers who helped out, who counted numerous healthy sea stars, which is always exciting. We also monitored Neptune Beach this winter, but due to unexpectedly extremely high tides, we ended up doing a time survey instead. At Neptune Beach, we had a small group of volunteers due to COVID who also counted many healthy sea stars. We had 59 Presaster Ocraceus, all reported healthy. All of our data goes into a West Coast database, which you can also check out online. This year, we were only able to conduct one intertidal monitoring event at Intalco. There was a major landslide event at the site, however, we were still able to conduct the surveys. We split our surveys into 2 monitoring dates so that we could get a few more volunteers out, including our 2 lead naturalists. All of our data goes to the Department of Natural Resources, which currently is going to inform the 2020 Management Plan update for Cherry Point. Beach monitoring also happened this summer with the Department of Ecology, where we sampled at Larrabee State Park and Little Squalicum Beach weekly this summer, collecting a total of 124 samples looking at bacteria. Little Squalicum still has a permanent water quality advisory posting, but we hope that with some effort we can change this in the near future. Marine bird monitoring happens September through May of each year at Cherry Point. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at some of the data. There were almost 5,000 birds counted this last season, with 33 species counted, the highest number counted in December, and a total of 250 volunteer hours and a total of 8 surveys completed. The most observed birds were brants and scoters. In the last 3 years, nearly 11,000 birds were counted, with this last year being the highest number of birds counted. European green crab monitoring happened this summer. Only previously trained volunteers unfortunately were able to help out due to COVID. A green crab molt was found at North Chuckanut Bay, and the 100th inland Washington water green crab was found in June at Drayton Harbor, with many more found in the Drayton Harbor area as WDFW launched an emergency response plan. We are pleased to say that some of our volunteers actually found themselves jobs with WDFW, and a previously undocumented non-native shrimp species was found that subsequently was discovered to be present at a lot of other green crab sites. Data goes to the Washington Sea Grant. They coordinate data collection at many other sites throughout Washington state. We continue to work with multi-agency management thanks to our North Sound Steward volunteer who discovered green crabs last year. Beach cleanups happened in 2020, however, not quite as planned, though we still managed to pick up over 1,000 pounds of garbage. And thank you to everyone who also did solo cleanups. You were a big help. Forage fish monitoring happens monthly at Little Squalicum Beach, as well as Marine Park. We sample at Little Squalicum Beach because it's the location of a future restoration project. We are interested to see if there is any change in the pre- and post-restoration of this estuary area. When we go out and collect samples, we collect sediment samples from the beach. We collect sediment samples about every 33 feet at each site on about 100-foot long sections. After these samples are collected, we then head to somewhere with a hose so that we can process the sediment samples. We put them through sieves, and then we use what's called the blue bowl vortex method so that we can sieve out any eggs, and then we send those eggs off to the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. WFW also occasionally will accompany us out in the field to oversee what we're doing. They also collect our data so that they can then look and see what's happening on the statewide scale for forage fish. The Chuckanut Pollution Identification and Control Program also continues. There are 7 sites monitored monthly by kayak, as well as 6 additional upland sites monitored at the same time. Some sampling events had some concerningly high counts of bacteria. However, the overall long-term bacteria meets the criteria for both marine and fresh water. So the Whatcom County Health Department continues to use this data to assess if the bay can be reopened for shellfish harvest in the future. Olympia oyster restoration monitoring happened in August of 2020. Native oysters were released in 2018 to North Chuckanut Bay by the Whatcom Marine Resources Committee. There were larger oysters found in 2020 than in previous years, as well as fewer live oysters in 2020, which also related to fewer dead oysters found in 2020 as well overall. Bull kelp monitoring happened this summer with some exciting paddles. We got out to 4 different sites in 2020. We had data on temperature, as well as depth and bed area collected. Together, volunteers paddled about 75 miles. Well done! Taking a look at some of the data from this past year, at Point Whitehorn Cherry Point, we saw a decrease in the overall acreage mapped. However, at Southwest Lummi Island, Easton Preserve, Cherry Point Gulf Road, we saw an increase in the 2020 data from 2019, which is always great news. And more excitingly, we also observed some kelp crabs, some red rock crabs, healthy sea stars, and lots more other cool critters. And I also want to note that our monitoring helped inform a state plan. The data is shared with the Northwest States Commission, who shares it then with the Department of Natural Resources and others. Be sure to check out SoundIQ for more information. Plus, there were a lot of data collected on smartphone apps this year. A lot happened in 2020, so let's celebrate your successes. You were all still able to get out and fill data gaps, and able to get out into the field even when staff couldn't. And thanks to you, we're still able to protect the Salish Sea.